Alrighty, let's get another study done here. I'm just gonna start with looking through some of this wake that you have here and noticing the eye movements and the chin. Sometimes the chin is a little low here during this person's wake, so that's kind of good to notate. Um, Not necessarily here, but this one it looks a little low. I just want to get a good eye for this person's brainwaves because I was looking ahead and some of these brainwaves just look a little bit tricky to read from your study. So I just wanted to get ahead of the game here. Okay, some movement. And then this patient closes his eyes around here. So this is eyes closed, not a whole lot of movement with the eyes closed on the eyes. Some good alpha here. And then looks like it starts dying down a little bit, not quite. And in our first epic of 1, which looks like it might be just a little bit sooner than when you have it. We have an arousal here. But if we mark this as 1, we'll go back, call this an arousal. And here we are with 1. And that arousal kind of lasts throughout this whole epic. The rest of this looks like alpha to me. Compare this epic with this epic. Previous. Here we are. Previous. And now we'll call this one wake. And then back to 1 here. And 1 again. And then 1 again. 1, 1, arousal here. Still looks like a bit of 1 in here. I'm just going to increase this here a little bit and delete this one. And this kind of looks like it could be an arousal in here. Just some frequent alpha going on in there. I'll still call this 1. And then this is 1 as well. 1, 1, 1, 1. I'm missing a K complex somewhere, or what? This is a lot of 1. Okay. 1, 1, 1. Arousal here. Some eye movement too. And this arousal, technically, I think you could drag it out to here, which would make this wake. Wake, and then 1. And that could be close to a K complex there. I don't think it is. We'll keep it in 1. Another arousal here. This will be 1. Another arousal here. And I think that would make this wake. Wake. 1. And now we're where you started 1 here. So just missed a little bit of the sleep onset on this. You can go back in the video and kind of see where I started and see what I was seeing. It's actually, this epic is not too far off from this epic back here. If I were to go back and forth between some of the epics I marked as 1 and this epic that you marked as 1, it's all very similar. So just a little bit late on 1. 1, 1, 1. And I think, yeah, I think that could almost be a K complex, but we'll keep it in 1 here. 1, 1. Little arousal here. 1, 1. And I think this could be a K complex. It's a little bit above baseline, a little bit below. I think I'd call this 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. And we're kind of back on the same page here. That's just a big old spindle there, no arousal there. 2, 2, 2, and let me pull up my reference lines here. Okay, so I kind of got my brainwaves a little bit big. I'm going to decrease them a little bit. 2, 2, 2. Good arousal there. That would change this to 1. And you kept it in 2, whereas this is all stage 1 here. And then 2, 2, 2. Now I would keep this in 2 rather than 3. 2, 2, 2, 2. And these waves are just not the brain waves for stage 3. They have to be at least 0.5 seconds to be considered a delta wave. So 0.5 seconds to 2 seconds is a delta wave. So this is all still stage 2 type stuff. 2, 2, 2. And this is where I'd score 3. That's a good chunk of stage 3 brain waves right in there. 3, and back to 2. And it looks like there could be an arousal in there. Could just be messy. I think that's debatable. I would call it an arousal, which would change this to 1. 1, and then 2. And a good arousal there for 1. Good. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. And not quite 3 yet here. Maybe looking more like 3 in this one, actually. So I'll call this 3. 3. Yep, good. So just 1 off on stage 3 there. And you kind of clump score it. And when I say clump score, it means you just mark a bunch of stage 3 over where the patient has a good chunk of stage 3, even if it's going back. Actually, I'll probably call this one 2, 2, 2, 2, and then 3 here with these brain waves and these brain waves, 3, and then back to 2, and then 3 here with this one, and these, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, and then 2 here. So going back, we'll look at this all as a whole. We have 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. And then some pretty obvious 3 here, 3, and then 2 here, 2, 2 with an arousal, yeah, arousal here, 2, arousal here. This one would be 1 because we have that arousal here. And then wake, good, wake, good, wake, good, and then 1, good, 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 1. And this arousal actually goes all the way out. This will be wake. If you just compare these brainwaves over here with these over here, just kind of see the difference there between the two. This one's not quite as big amplitude as the patient's alpha from the beginning of the study, but the frequency is still there for wake. So I'm going to call this one wake, and then back to 1. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and then 2, starting there, which you have. Good. On the same page again, 2, 2, whoop, hold on. 2, and then an arousal here, just barely. If you can see that comparing, just kind of zoom out, zoom in, or when I say that, I mean stand back from your computer a bit and then get closer and just kind of see those frequencies. I would change this to 1, and then 1, and then we have, I don't see REM quite yet. I'm just going to keep marking 1 until I do. I have a few arousals in here. 1, 1, an arousal here. 1, an arousal there. 1. And I don't see any eye movements yet either, so I'm wondering what you were seeing in here. This is 1. And then I see now the eye movement. That probably fooled you. This is an arousal here, actually. 1, and 1. Another arousal here for 1, 1. I think this is an arousal here for 1. Another arousal here for 1. Kind of a light sleeper. And that arousal, there's a tiny bit of sleep in here. A little bit of sleep right here, but then an alpha picks up again throughout here. I think this is actually wake. And then 2. Well, no, not 2. Back to 1. Thought that was a K complex, but there's a K complex, but we have another arousal. So this would be wake, and then 1, and then here we have wake, and then wake. So that whole chunk of REM was not REM. Just one tiny little eye movement when the patient woke up. So if you want to go back to that, you can. This one would also be wake coming from this epic. Wake, 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 wake. A little bit of sleep in here. That's about it. Wake, wake. A little bit of sleep maybe in here. Still wake though. It's a tricky read. I'm going to increase this again. And still wake. And then we've got an arousal here. This will be 1. 1. An arousal here for 1. 1. 1. And then 2. Good arousal there. 1. Good arousal there. For wake. 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 Now, this one would be wake as well. Just let's go back 1 and look at the brain waves where you said this was wake and this is 1. Just switching back and forth. The frequencies are the same. So I'm going to keep this in wake for now. Wake. Same here. Wake. Going back between this one and this one. It's all the same frequency. Fuzzy brain waves there. Wake, 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 and then probably 1 by here. 1, and maybe a big arousal there. Back to wake, wake, and then 1 again. 1, and then another arousal here. This will be 1. And that arousal still carries on throughout this epic here. This will be wake, wake, and little arousal here. This could be one. One is tricky. One. Another arousal here. One. 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 And then an arousal for wake. I would keep this in wake. Wake. And maybe one here. It's tricky. One. I think it's still wake. 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 Which you have back on track. And then one by this one, which you have. So good. One. 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 K complex with an arousal here. Back to one. And then wake. And the next one you have is REM, which you still have. Usually you don't go straight from wake to REM, especially at the beginning of the study. The only time you do wake from REM or wake to REM is when someone's already been in REM for a little while, is usually when they stay in REM after wake. But this one would be wake, not REM. Wake, wake. This is all alpha, wake. And then I think we've got one with an arousal here. One, then an arousal here. And one, K complex there, one. So this would be two, K complex here. I think this is a little arousal. Back to one. A little arousal here. And then a little arousal there, which you had. One, and wake. And then back to one with an arousal there. One, an arousal here for one. So you're marking a lot of REM here. This would be wake. And this would be wake. And this would be one. One, a little arousal here. Back to one. And another arousal here, which would make this wake. And then one. And then two for this one, which you have. Good. I think this arousal lasts a little longer there. This would be one. This arousal lasts a little longer there, to about there. This would be one, and then one, then wake, 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 and one, good. A little arousal here. This would be one, this would be one, wake, good arousal there, one, and good arousal here. I think this lasts throughout the whole epic there. Maybe not so much right here, but it does pick up again right here. So this would be wake, and then wake, wake. I think this is wake. The only sleep is about 10 seconds in this one. So wake, this is all wake here with the whole epic being alpha. Wake, and then it drops off right about there, I think. So this would be wake still. Wake, and then one, and then one, then one. Little arousal here for one, and then one, and then wake, wake, one, good, 1, good. Wake, 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 wake. 1, good. 1. And then this actually lasts till about there, I think, so this would be wake. And then 1. Spindle here, so the next one will be 2. 1. And then 2, which you have, good. And then this would be wake again. This arousal kind of lasts right there. They open up their eyes, or they blink their eyes, or something right there. Wake. And then 1. And 1, and then a K complex there. So this will be 2, 2. And then an arousal here. And this will be wake. And this will be wake. And this will be 1, 1. I think that's an arousal there. We've got 1, and then 2, and then 2, 2, 2, 2. Arousal. This would be 1. Another arousal there. This would be 1. And then the spindle here. This would be 2, 2, which is where you started REM. We have an arousal there. There we go. 2. This would be wake. This would be 1. Spindle here. So the next one will be 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Okay, so now we've got our real eye movements here. So I'm going to go back to where we had our last K complex. Actually, we had a little eye movement here as well. So this one would be the start of REM here, which is just a little bit later than where you had it. I think you had it somewhere in here. So it'd be REM, 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 REM. REM. Okay, and then 2, good. Good stop of REM there. All right. Good start of 3. We're on a roll here now. And then arousal there, still called a 3, good. Then the 2, good. And I could even see this being 3. 3, and then 2, and then 2, and 2, and then 3. Okay, and we got a bit of an arousal there. We'll call that 3 still. And you still call this 3, but I think this is all an arousal, maybe part of this a little bit, maybe it's just some movement, but I would probably call this, I don't know, it's tricky, I'd probably call it 1 with all of the movement, and then 1, and then this one, I would call this wake, 1, little arousal there for 1, good, 1, good, wake, 1, and that's enough for a K complex for me. I'm going to call this 2, and then 1, and then 1, and then 2 again. Yeah, wake, good, and then 1, good. And then this would be 1. This is all stage 1 over here with the arousal would make it 1. Another arousal there. This would be 1. And then back to 2. Arousal there. For that one, yep, this would stay in 2. Good. Two. Not sure why you called this one 1. Got a little spindle here. Oh, I see. And a K complex before the 15-second mark. So this would be 2. Back to 1, and 2. And 1, 2, 2. 2. Little K complex here. Could even be a K complex here. We'll call this 2. And then wake, good. 1, good. 2, good. Little arousal there. We'll call this 2 like you did. And then 1, and then 2, good. Yeah, I think your staging has been improving. Still having some issues detecting some arousals, and then overscoring REM a little bit, I've noticed, when it's actually wake. So just be a little bit more stingy with your REM. I noticed your eye movements are happening during alpha, and you call it REM even when the eye movement, there's like one little eye movement that happens with an arousal, and then you start calling REM. You want to make sure you have some clear eye movements during sleep brain waves, before you start calling REM, unless it's like blatantly obvious that it's REM eye movements, and but just one little eye click isn't quite enough. A little arousal there. Change this to 1. And this arousal could even last to there. So we'll call this 1 what you have. Another little arousal there. Call this 2. 2, 2. 1, 2. Wake, good. This would be wake. All of this is alpha. Maybe a tiny little bit of sleep right here. Tried to fall asleep but didn't quite catch. So this would be wake, and then 1, and 1, and 2 with the K complex back here. We'll call this one 2, and wake, and then 1. And then you called this one 1, but in the previous epoch here, we've got a K complex. So, yeah, it looks like I might have missed an arousal myself there. A little arousal there. This would stay in 1 now. So you're right, just I missed an arousal there. So 2, an arousal here, which would, we'll keep this in 2, and then wake, 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 and then 1, 1, a little arousal here, 1, and then 1. And now it's getting real tricky again. I think that's an arousal. This would be wake, 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 and then this is tricky, this one. There's a little bit of sleep here, a little bit of sleep here. So if I were to measure it out, I'd say 10 seconds and 3 seconds. So I'd call this one wake still. And then back to 1. And then a little bit of sleep here, then wakes up again here. I think this is wake again. Wake, and then 1, and then 2, 2, little arousal there. 1, 2, 2, and looks like another arousal there for 2, and then 1 because of the arousal. 1, arousal here for 1. And I got a load. Come on, little guy. Uh-oh. Let's give it a second here. Well, I'll go ahead and end this one here, and then make a new one for um, the score or the scoring on it, um, and just do 2 separate videos. But you kind of get the idea of this patient's brainwaves a little bit. You can maybe watch this one again and just check out the REM sections that I changed where I started. The actual REM was a little bit later than where you had it, and then I took out that chunk of REM that you had. Um, yeah, so kind of, oh, there we go. We're back. Okay. Uh, Maybe I'll just finish here. Anyways, got an arousal there. Let's go back. We were in that one. Okay. So we've got 2 here, good. And then 1 with the arousal. And then 2, 2, 2. Got the arousal here. 1. Arousal here for wake. 2. Arousal here for 1. And there we go. It looks like that's the end of it. Just lost connection to the server is all, so see if this fixes that problem real quick. Okay. And 2, 2, a little arousal there for 1, 2, 2, 2, arousal here for 2, 1, 2, 2, a little arousal here for 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. I don't think this is 3. It is certainly close, but I don't think it's there. 2, 2, 2, 2. And usually I don't mark a single epic of 3 unless it's pretty obvious that it's 3. You kind of clump score everything, do it all in a section, you know. And this is where you started rem, which looks like you're right. So good start of rem on the, you hit it on the head there for the last one. Looks like I may not have to split this video up after all. Moving a bit faster now. And 2, 2, 2. Good. Good end of rem there. And 3. Good. Good start of 3. I think your general staging is very good. You got an idea for what everything looks like. You just have to get a little bit more confident with it when things are looking tricky. Just kind of sit back from your computer a little bit and uh, take it all in as a whole. Usually someone doesn't go into REM at the beginning of the night unless they've got some serious problems, maybe narcolepsy or something, but it's pretty rare that we see that, especially going into REM after a bunch of wake at the beginning of the night. So kind of have to use a little bit of sense, you know, when you're marking your REM, especially at close to the beginning. So most people don't usually go into REM right at the beginning of the night. It takes like an hour or two. But all of this looks good. Kind of getting close to the point where I don't have to look at much of this anymore. You need some work with some of your arousals that you're missing. But I think that just comes with a bit more time and practice, and especially if you're watching these videos, you'll get it. I think that whole thing is wake, actually. And a little YouTube shortcut, you can hit the arrow key to, like the left arrow key to jump back 5 seconds. If I'm going too fast, you can kind of see what I marked. little arousal there for wake. 1, 2, 2, 2. But I think some of these you are able to see um, what I see when I mark it. I think that's usually the case with a lot of people. They're like, oh, I see it, I see it. Once I highlight it and mark it as wake or something, usually that's how it goes. And then you started run there, which, yeah, that looks good. Good starter M again there. Same. It's a very confident starter M there, and I think you're absolutely right. So, all right, let's take a look at the scoring. Jump in here. And I'm just going to increase this a little bit so I can see. Increase this a little bit. Increase this a little bit. And it didn't look like this person was having too much apnea. I didn't see you mark much of that. So this might not take very long. I gotta adjust this already. Some leg movement. Okay, so with periodic leg movements, I'm going to delete these two. You need 4 leg movements to mark, and I'm not talking about 1, 2, 3, 4. Like you see, there's 2 here, 1 on each leg, and this would be considered 1 leg movement. The 2 of these. So you actually need 2 more of those leg movements to mark a series. So you don't mark these leg movements. You would need this and this. So 2 more to mark them. And they have to be at least 5 seconds apart. And I believe in 90 seconds, 5 to 90 seconds apart, I believe. So I wouldn't mark 2 standalone leg movements, or you shouldn't mark 2 standalone leg movements. Same with that leg movement there. Wouldn't mark a standalone, or you shouldn't mark a standalone leg movement. You have to have 4 in a series that are 5 to 90 seconds apart to mark leg movements. So that would not be considered a leg movement. Plus, you don't mark leg movements in wake either, and that would be considered wake. So same here, you need 4 leg movements. So I'm going to delete this. And we've got 1 leg movement there. Let's see if there's... So this one you actually do have, if I scroll a little bit, you actually do have 4. You only marked 3 though. So this one, you can mark these little tiny blips here. It doesn't have to be in both legs, and it doesn't have to be very big to mark a leg movement. So that would be 4. Um, and then here, we have another leg movement here. 1. Instead of marking this one right there, I'd just mark the start of it. 2, 3, 4. This is in wake. This is in wake. Yep, good. I'd probably, oh, you had it. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, this is in wake though. So 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so this wouldn't be a series. I'll delete these. So you have 1, and then this one's in wake, so you don't count that. And then 2, 3, and then this one's in wake, so you don't count that either. And then you have a standalone leg movement here. Delete that. Because you need 4 leg movements again. And again, you have another standalone here. And another standalone here. Another standalone here. Nothing there. There's standalone there. And I think this I would call a hypopnea here. And a hypopnea here as well with the DSAT. And a hypopnea there. And a little hypopnea there, maybe. Not quite long enough. And you called that a hypopnea there. I would actually drag all of this for the hypopnea. That's where I would mark it. So a tiny bit of REM apnea maybe. A little hypopnea there, good. And this DSAT is from this event here, which is after the arousal, so you can't mark that. And then this hypopnea, the DSAT would have to be here for you to mark it, which it's not, so nothing there. DSATs usually happen 10 to 20 seconds after the respiratory event. Some good leg movements there. And then and then you have 2 standalone leg movements here. So I just get rid of this one. And this one, unless there's one right there, nope. And this is actually a hypopnea right here. And this is close. I'm not so sure that that's exactly 30% reduction in flow, but you can see baseline being here, and then it decreases. Let's see, I might have to decrease this a little bit. Baseline, and then it decreases. That could almost be a hypopnea right in here. But it's only 8 seconds too, so I wouldn't count it. This one, however, I would call a hypopnea. You got a standalone leg movement here I'll take out. And the same with this is a hypopnea, standalone leg movement I'll take out. And then this right here is a hypopnea. And these leg movements I'm taking out. Just 2 leg movements, not 4. If there were 4 in a series, so like these, doesn't count as a series because that's more than 90 seconds, right? So you can't count those as like, oh, well, there's 4 in a row. They have to be closer to 90 seconds apart. So like these would definitely count. So I'll leave those in there. However, this kind of looks like a hypopnea here. And this looks like a hypopnea here. And yeah, I think I would leave those. Again, another hypopnea here. And we got some leg movements that are standalone. You need 4. That's only 2. You need 1. You need 4. That's only 1. Now here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, but you didn't mark the 4th one. Leg movements don't have to have arousals. You can just mark them. 1, 2, 3, 4, plus the ones that we were seeing back here, still a continuation in the series. But then we've got this standalone leg movement. Just gonna delete that. And nothing in REM this time, huh? chunk of stage 3. Most commonly, you don't see apnea in stage 3. This almost looks like hypopnea here. Reduction in flow. There's only 2 leg movements here, I think, in this iridis. I'll go back if I need to. But unless there's 2 more in the next epic, which there isn't, and then another standalone, so deleting that. And with that standalone, this is another one, but that makes only 2, and this one's more than 90 seconds apart from this one. So, delete that. And you do have, let's see, 86 seconds, so that's all right. But you got to mark the 4th one. I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4. And technically, you can't mark a leg movement if it's more than 10 seconds long as well. So I probably should have gone back and deleted that one. This one here. These 2 wouldn't count because that's longer than 10 seconds. That's 11 seconds. That's longer than that, which would disqualify both of these because now they're no longer in a series. So, okay, that's it. So I just want to go into the scoring manual here. Oops. Let's see. And take a look at the leg movements with you. Well, maybe not. Let's see, maybe that's not the right one. That's funny. Okay, maybe not. Yeah, so to mark leg movements, you do need 4 in a row, and I believe they should be at least 5 seconds apart. Here we go. This is not where I thought it was going to go. There we go. Should have had this ready, but I need my. Let's see if this is it. Staging rules. Okay, limb movements. Minimum duration of a limb movement is 0.5 seconds, so it does not have to be very long to mark a leg movement. And the amplitude is 8 UV, which is actually not very tall to be a leg movement either. The maximum duration is 10 seconds. The timing of the onset of a leg movement event is defined as the point at which there is an 8 UV increase in EMG voltage above resting EMG. So, the minimum number of consecutive limb movements events needed to define a periodic leg movement series is 4. So that's just a minimum amount, but it has to be at least 4 to mark a series. And the periodic length between limb movement is 5 seconds to 90 seconds. So I was right with 5 seconds to 90 seconds. Limb movements on two different legs separated by less than 5 seconds are counted as a single leg movement. So the period length next to the leg movement following this group of leg movements is measured from the onset of the first leg movement to the onset of the next. So the 5 seconds apart rule is simply from the start of one to the start of the next, not from the end of one to the start of the next. So that's something to keep in mind. So there's a few examples, and you have this as well. This document I've sent to you through your email. If you need it again, just let me know. All right, that'll conclude this video. All right.